Hello friends, people-centered leadership in difficult times. Let me just first define difficult times. Difficult times are those of which we have had no experience before and we have no roadmap going forward. Never been here, don't know what to do. Okay? It's just like the first time you went on a date. Never been on a date before, so you ask your friends and they give you all sorts of advice. You might buy a book and read some hints from there. But both the book and your friends don't know you and they won't be in your shoes at that time, and they don't know who you're going to date. All right, so it's all down to you. It can be a bit scary, you're feeling a bit nervous, but it also can be exciting and full of potential if you approach it right. Okay, so before we go on, just very quickly, I want to ask, why people-centric leadership? In a nutshell, people-centric companies do better, much better. According to a Gallup poll in the US, people-centric companies experience 37% less absenteeism than non-people-centric companies. They had 48% less safety incidents, 41% less product defects, and best of all, their productivity and profitability was 20% better. People-centrism pays the bucks. It's not just a feel-good kind of culture. Rajendra Sisodia in his books calls these kind of companies, people-centric companies, firms of endearment. He found out that firms of endearment outperform good to great companies by 6 times and S&P 500 companies by 14 times. Okay, let's get to the meat. Let me tell you a story. About 4 years ago, I was snorkeling in about 3 to 4 meters of water, about 10 to 15 meters deep, and suddenly I realized I was too far from shore. I panicked, I struck out for the shore, swam as fast as I can, and very soon I ran out of breath and ran out of energy, and I started drinking water, panicking, sinking. I was in trouble. I remember I was a good swimmer, but I've never been here before. So I did all the wrong things. Soon I was drowning. COVID-19 is the ultimate difficult time. None of us have been here before. And some of us are wondering every day, what are we going to do? The elephant in the room, the looming question also is, what are we going to do with our staff? Are we going to retrench them? Are we going to cut their salary? Is my own job safe? You know. Let me guarantee you one thing. When you worry about things you can't control, things can only get worse for you. Focus on what you can control. You can't control the conditions of the sea. So what you do, control on how you can respond, which is what I should have done. I can't control COVID-19, but I can control my response. I can religiously practice social distancing. I can't control the economy, but my team, that one I can influence. I can influence how the company responds. So focus on what you can control. These are uncertain, difficult times. And your team has never been here before. Your team is feeling uncertain. Up steps you, the leader, to lead, to provide direction, and to give rock-solid assurance. How can you do this? By a system we call Tata. Tata is a people-centric system of driving your company to greater success. In the Indian Tamil language, Tata means grandfather. So this is our grandfather principle of leadership. Tata stands for 4 things. The first letter, T, stands for think. You have to think clearly, you have to provide thought leadership, you have to counter the panic and the confusion. When I was drowning, I didn't think. I panicked, struck for shore. I didn't realize there was a current going under me. I fought the current. My 14-year-old son, who was nearby, he saw I was in trouble. He thought calmly and he considered the options. We are far from shore. My silly father is very tired. There's a strong crest current. Then he considered the options. We can swim back to shore. We can swim to a nearby pier. We can float and let the current take us to the next beach, or we can just float around and wait for somebody to come and save us. This is what my son did. He considered what the conditions were. He considered what the options were. That's the first step of PCL, thinking. The second step, T, A, aim. Think. When I think, after I've thought, I must aim. What am I going to do? What is the course of action I'm going to take? I come to a town. If I'm lost, I look around and I must take aim. I see 4 roads, road A, B, C, D. I have to decide. So I decide on going on B. That is aiming. Then you make a decision, you narrow down your options. Okay, when my son considered the conditions and options, he narrowed it down to one course of action. He decided, let's hang on and float until someone comes to save us. He made a decision, he aimed. Once you do that, you do the third thing, that is you talk. Talking is the essential role of a leader. You must provide direction, especially in difficult times. Why? Never happened before. How we do this talking is important. My son, I was thinking, I was drawing, I was exhibiting plenty of drama, which is my habit, and I was panicking. My son talked calmly. He said, "Daddy, put your arms on my shoulders. Put your hands on my shoulders. I will hold you." After a while, he said, "Okay, now you try and tread water on your own." After I was treading water, he said, "Okay, now you're not doing it too correctly. Let me show you how." And he's doing all this in a calm voice. And when he said, "Okay, when you get too tired, come back and hold my shoulders again." Now, what he did was three things. He gave specific instructions. He gave a what, that's a what. He did it calmly and gently, that's the how. And by doing these two things, he gave me confidence. We don't lead nobody, we lead somebody. Human beings who respond to fact and respond to emotion. What we've done is we've thought, we've aimed, and we've talked. Then we act. As a leader, the way we act is very different from how other people act. Okay, we'll talk about that in a while. Think. Okay, the first letter of Tata. Think is common sense. You think so, right? Let me prove to you that it's wrong. Let me show you how you sometimes do not have common sense, if you'll pardon me. You're going to the office, you're driving, and it's a nice day, you're driving in the days that you could drive. And suddenly you get caught in a traffic jam. 15 minutes, okay. Then after a while, it stretches half an hour and you're getting a little bit anxious and frustrated. Suddenly, this monkey comes in his big car and he overtakes you and cuts right in front of you. What do? You wait for a millisecond and you slam your fist on the horn. And if you're as emotive as me, you will give him some polite gestures okay, that you're doing. And you do this even though in your entire history of driving, you know that all these things that you do has never changed the life or the behavior of even one single person. Yet you continue to do this. Common sense? No. Oh, maybe it's not you, maybe it's only me, all right? But so thinking is very important. In crisis times, in difficult times, people don't think, they react. In the corporate world, thinking is called strategizing. More important, co-strategizing. The leader who thinks all by himself in his room, locks him up, comes up with his brilliant ideas, throws it to his people, and then drives them and chases them all around until they achieve the results is not a good leader. Even worse, if they don't achieve the results, he blames them, not his ideas. All right, this is not a good leader. This is not leadership. This is dictatorship. A good leader pulls everybody into the room to strategize. So that's the first thing. Get them into the room. How do you do this? When you get them into the room, you get them to think together. The first thing you must do is you must encourage an attitude of go big. Go big or go home. Encourage them to be brave, to be wild. Tell them you're here because you are special. I know you have potential. You do things like this, they will build up their courage to speak. Okay? Tell them every idea is a good idea. There's no such bad idea. The only bad idea is the one that is not verbalized, not spoken. Okay? So now you've got an attitude. This is a foundation. Go big or go home. On top of this, you build the action, and the action is brainstorming. Brainstorming is two words: brain, where the ideas come from, and storm. So you think of ideas as coming down in a rain. Raindrops all over you can't control the rain. You can't tell the rain, don't fall on my car because I just washed it. It doesn't work the way. The rain falls where and when it wants. And ideas, you must allow them to do that. Unfiltered, uncensored. Okay? So how do you do this is you must manage how they fall by allowing everything to fall into this collection funnel, this big basket that you have. You do this by positive reinforcement. Every idea that comes, you say, thank you, fantastic, great idea, wow, I didn't see that before. This makes people feel excited and valued for whatever they give. All right? What if the person gives a stupid idea? Still encourage him. You know why? Because he's giving an idea. He's giving an idea. You must encourage that. Okay, you can say, wow, thank you for speaking up. Okay, we'll put this down in the list. We will consider it. Thank you. Oh, can you just tell me a little bit more about why you're saying this? You're validating his process. You remember, you don't only want the ideas, you want the habit of giving ideas. This is how you do it. Okay? Let's think. First one. Second one is aim. Now that you've got all these ideas, you've got to funnel them down into a few ideas. We recommend only 3 at the most critical outcomes that you want. That means 3 actions that you must take to focus on these outcomes. Some of you will find this very difficult because you've been doing 10 different responsibilities all at once and you say that you need to focus on this. You cannot. This is a season, difficult seasons are seasons where you need to focus. You can spend a little bit of time on your other things, but you must decide what are the 3 important things that I need to do. All right. In the easy times, when you can focus on everything, you can going to look at how you're driving sales and figure out also what the design of your curtains can be. You can do all that. Bad times you cannot. All right. I'll give you some ideas of areas that you can focus on, critical focus areas. Income streams. The Pareto principle, Pareto, P-A-R-E-T-O, says that 80% of your income will come from 20% of your customers, or 20% of your products, 20% of your market segments. So you must decide, what are these critical market segments which will give me the majority of my income. You must focus on them. Or you can focus on debt collection catalysts. What makes me collect and turn around my cash as fast as possible? You can also focus on staff engagement. How can I retain and train my staff? How can I make them excited about being in this company, especially in this time? How can I assure them that we are a company that cares for people? What are the things that I need to do? How do I communicate my emails? How do I have fun with them? How do I train them even though times are difficult? How do I make them feel that they're valuable and they have a career path here? So many things you can do. Another thing you can focus on is branding, internal and external. Let's talk about external. How you appear to your stakeholders is important, to your customers, to show that you're vibrant and you're flexible and you're dynamic in this kind of situations, to your shareholders, to your suppliers, to assure your bankers. But most of all, your internal stakeholders are also very important, your employees. You must appear to them, you must give them a sense of how solid you are in the way you treat them. Even in difficult times, even sometimes if you have to give some bad news, how do you deal with this is part of your internal branding. Okay? Optimizing processes. You take those processes and make them shorter, more effective. Finally, one of the suggestions we can have is focus on cost controls. And there are many ways to focus on cost controls. You can focus on trying to get things cheaper. You can focus on going from smaller quantities to bigger quantities. You can focus on the process, the internal controls for cost. There's so many things you can do. All right. So once you've done that, you have aimed, you've focused already. So now what you've done, you've thought, which is strategizing, you've aimed, you've focused. Now you have to communicate. Communicating is the most important thing. In fact, it is even important before you start to think and aim. You must always be communicating. Don't be the kind of leader that panics in a difficult time and go and lock yourself up in a room. You don't avoid the problem. You make your people even more worried, even less confident. Okay, so you must communicate and communicate with clarity and with passion. But most important, you must portray calmness. Always, no exception. You don't portray anger, panic. Even if you might feel a little bit, and you're not a robot. You might feel a little bit of insight, but you don't portray it. You always must build confidence. You must show calmness. They must know that you are the person. Whenever I go and see you as a leader, I feel confident. I feel everything's okay. You are the person I want to follow. All right, build confidence. How you do it is one of the ways. If you don't have any strategies, the first way is to have words and phrases that you use regularly. Some of the phrases I use was, I have a 3-step plan. When I do this, what I'm showing them is I am not vague. I actually have a plan and there are 3 processes to it. They're very happy with that. This is the best possible time. That's another fantastic phrase to use. You can use the words like, we were prepared. This was an excellent opportunity. What you're doing when you do this is you're changing negativity into positivity. If you do this often enough, and you will do it, and you will carry them through these processes, and in 1 year they'll look back and say, hey, you got through this, and they'll realize it and associate that coming through this process with your positivity, and they will attribute it to you, part of the reason why they came out through that. And that's fantastic. Okay. Finally, now you've thought, you have aimed, you have talked to your people, communicated well, now you have to act. And acting for a leader is very simple. You act by not acting, by not doing. What you do is you act by getting out of the way and empowering your team. That's what you have to do. Even if you are better at doing what you need to get done, even if you're better, get somebody else to do that. Make them better. I may be able to, take a tool apart faster and better than anybody else. But I don't want to be doing this all the time. And I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do. You must teach more and more people to be able to do this so that you can duplicate your expertise, not just by 1 time, by 10 times. That's what you want to do. And you do this by staying out of the way. Delegate. Yeah, there's 5-step level ways of delegation that we teach. There are many ways you can do that. But when you're doing this, what you're doing is you're not being me-centric, you're being others-centric. This is very important. Do you feel itchy? Do you really want to get involved? If you do, focus on quality control. You stay out of the way, but once in a while get there and check on what they're doing. Don't be like my wife when we first got married. She asked me to cook. I mean, to be fair to her, I'm a terrible cook. But when she asked me to cook, she said, I said, you trust me? Yeah, I'll go and cook. So I went and cooked. Within 5 minutes, I felt a breath over my shoulder. My wife was looking and she said, I think you should make the fire lower. And you didn't put enough salt. And, so she was not empowering me, she was micromanaging me. Okay. Of course, now she's become much better at doing this and I've become a better cook. All right. So that's what you want to do. You want to empower people. And one of the other things you can do is you can coach. You coach by duplicating your leadership values. What is the central? You don't want to carbon copy your actions. You duplicate your values. You grow that. You get people to understand the concepts of what you're doing. You can also teach some other things that are important for them. That, for example, how to manage your work, how to manage their time when you're doing all this. You teach them some skills, but most of all, you teach them the central concepts and values. Okay, just to end, let me just go back to my son's story. My son coached me in all of this panic. My son coached me. He taught me how to calm down. He taught me how to tread water. He taught me what to do to conserve my energy. And by doing that, he gave me confidence by thinking, by having a focus on what we are going to do, by communicating with me, and then finally by teaching me. So now I have developed my own small leadership and confidence in the water. I have become another leader in the water because of what my son did for me. See, it doesn't matter how old or how experienced, everybody has the potential to be a leader. It is your job to bring that out of that person. Okay, so to summarize, this is a time, people, that is difficult, but this is a time that is excellent for building your people around you. So take the time to think by strategizing with your team, to aim by focusing on maximum 3 critical focus areas, to talk, to communicate with clarity and calmness, and to act by empowering and building other leaders. That is what you have the privilege to do. Thank you, and ta-ta.